having me here today. Yeah, so as she just introduced, I've been, for the past 5 to 6 years, interacting with startup founders every day. So my job at my office is, helping startup founders in the fundraising process and navigating them, advising them through the process. So I would like to share some of my experience with the startup founders today here. It would be a pleasure if anybody of you, can gain out of today's session. So I want the session to be very interactive. Whenever you have any question, you can just drop your question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and also ask your question. I have prepared a very small presentation just to explain few basic points. But I would like all of you to ask more questions so that I can answer as much as I can. I'll share my presentation first. We'll go through the presentation, and then simultaneously also we can take questions. And even after the presentation, whatever questions you have, we'll be happy to answer. Share my screen.
Yes, you should be able to do it.
Yeah. So is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So the topic for today is equity mistakes that cost founders control. So from our experience, we have actually seen that founders, they don't lose control because of bad investors or bad business, but many times they lose control because of those one or two equity decisions that they've taken early on, which at that time felt very harmless and relevant, but later on they realized that those decisions should not have been made. So, and decisions once made are, especially on your shareholding and cap table decisions once made, are very hard to reverse. They are actually irreversible, and they can cost you, big time later on when your company is growing. So, why is it important? Why is it important first for the founders to have their equity right? Because equity provides you ownership and control. So, company is a founder's baby. The company is set up by the founder. He would always like to have control and ownership over that company so that it will help him to take decisions, and to take the company based on his idea, because the company is, after all, his brainchild. So he would like to have that control and ownership on the company so that he can take the company to greater heights as per whatever his plans were. So for that purpose, it is very important that you have a majority control always on the company. Early decisions, just I mentioned, that the decisions that we take very early on, though it might seem very relevant, or at that time we might be in so much need of funds that we do not understand the repercussions it may have later on in a startup journey, especially for a founder. So we would see some of those scenarios, some of those cases which a founder faces, and how he can navigate through those scenarios. Even when you go to big investors like your venture capitalist and institutional investors, they would also prefer that the founders have majority stake in the company. They have proper skin in the game. Otherwise, even fundraising gets difficult in the later stages when the founders do not have a majority stake in the company. Okay, so we'll begin with the first thing. First, when a company is set up, it is set up by co-founders. Sometimes there are two, sometimes there are three, sometimes there are four, very rarely, but one, two, or three. So at that time, what we have seen is because just two or three people are coming together and setting up a company, they divide the equity equally. There, the equity shares are given equally just because all three of them have come together and started the business. But what they don't realize is how much each one of them is going to contribute to the business of the company. Sometimes it may so happen that out of the three, there is only one person who is working full time, or who is that he's the key founder for the company, while the other two may just support him, or they may have sometimes they may even have their part-time jobs or full-time jobs, and they are doing, this company is their passion, and they are supporting it in their part-time. So for that purpose, it is very important to understand what each of the founder is bringing on the table, and then divide the equity accordingly. Don't be just fair, just because they have come with you to start your company. Don't be very liberal in giving equity. Equity is something that you have to be very careful from your day one in allocating to anybody, whether it is a co-founder or your early investors, whoever it is. So equity is something that you have to deal with lot of care. So even between the co-founders, what we always advise is always have a founders agreement in place. Uh, just these things may just sound extra cost or just overheads for a startup company, but later on this may cost you heavily. So it might be a little cost thing in the beginning, but if when these things are set from the beginning, they lay foundation for a stronger company, for your stronger capital, and they avoid lot of conflicts and deadlocks later on. So I would just tell you a scenario where a founder came to us, and he was like, I've set up a company with my other three founders, and at that time we have divided equity in the equal proportion. And now what he realizes is the other three people are not even contributing anything to the company, and it is only him who is contributing to the operations of the company. He is getting the investors, he is building the platform, working on sales and operations, and other people are just it's like a time pass kind of an affair for them. So now he's stuck with the equity. He gets into a very difficult position, because then you have to explain them and to transfer their equity to you. It's very difficult position. So for that purpose, it is very important that you execute a founders agreement, and define the roles and obligations of each of the founder, what each of you is going to contribute to the company, and then fix your shareholding in proportion to your contribution, and also have important clauses in the agreement, so that it avoids any conflicts in the future. Then coming next to after found yeah. So after co-founders, the next people who the founders approach for funding are the friends and family. So friends and family are the next round of invest. Whether we call them proper investors or not, but they are there to help you. Once the founders have exhausted their personal savings, they approach them for that short-term immediate requirement. So there also, what happens is, just because they are giving you money and you have to allot them shares, what founders do is they allot them direct equity. So that is something which you have to stop, because what you have to understand the objective of that fundraise. That fundraise is not to take you to a greater scale. That fundraise round is a short-term immediate requirement, which probably few years down the line you may even not want those people on your cap table. Too many investors, too many people on the cap table is also not good. So not preferable from a investor, like institutional investment round. So that's why you may you may want that short-term immediate requirement. We are not saying that don't take money, but when you take money, you structure it in such a way that you allot them either a convertible instrument or a or just take a loan from them. So that convertible instrument also, because most of you are startups, okay, for convertible startup founders can issue even convertible notes, where convertible note you have an option whether you want to convert them or repay the funds. So maybe, when your company is doing good and you don't want to have those people on your cap table, you can just refund the money along with interest and, clear your cap table. So you have to look for alternative instruments rather than equity to allot to your friends and family. Our mostly suggestions, of course, it depends. It varies from case to case basis, but always look for, ICF notes or convertible notes for when you want to issue shares to your friends and family. And even then, ensure that proper agreement is prepared. So, agreement documenting your terms of each fundraise round, whether it is with friends and family or between co-founders, anything. It is very important that you have a proper agreement for your every fundraise round, so that it helps in a big way later on. You may not realize its importance today, but you will understand the impact of it later on. If anybody has any questions, just let us know. So one more thing, option that you can do is you
Sorry
can
to
have your,
interrupt, Shilpa. If you could hide the tile, the participant tile, or maybe remove it, because it's kind of blocking the view.
yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah, now it's good. Thanks. Yeah, guys, anyone has any questions in the meantime, since you'll not be able to unmute as of now, you could put that in the chat or raise your hands. But we'll take the questions, everything in the last. Okay?
Yeah. So it's a very brief presentation. I will quickly take you through this, and then we can have more of a Q&A round. So one more suggestion that we give to the founders is just like you prepare your business plan, prepare a cap table plan also for your next 5 to 7 years. That how much fundraising you want to raise in the next 5 years, and how much dilution you are looking at in the next 5 years. That will help you to dilute accordingly at every stage of your fundraise, whether it is a friends and family round, angel investor round, pre-series A, series A. So that will help you immensely to have an idea that after my, series A, series B, I'm still holding, 50%, 55% stake in the company. So that is very important to understand that how much is your fund requirement depending on the business that you are in, and how much dilution you would do at every stage. You plan before raising the fund. Don't plan at the time of your fundraise, but have that plan before in hand. Another important, not investors, but the equity that we have to offer is to advisor equity. This is very common in a startup sector. Startups usually have advisors, whether they are strategic advisors or advisors who help them to raise fund. And because the startups are usually tight on liquidity in the beginning of their operations, they usually offer them equity instead of cash payment. So that structuring is also very important. Many people have questions like, can we do ESOP to advisors? So for ESOPs is a separate slide, but I will take both of them simultaneously. So ESOPs are basically employee stock options which are given only to permanent employees. That means the employee has to be on rolls of the company to be eligible for ESOPs. Advisors, since they are not on rolls of your company, they are not eligible for ESOPs. You cannot offer ESOPs to your advisors. It has to be a direct equity only to the advisors. And then there are now the next question comes is, how do we offer equity to our advisors? Because the advisor has given only advisory. He's not putting in any money. So now how do we structure that advisory shares? Yep. So in that scenario, what are the usual things is usual options are that there are actually two options. One is a direct share transfer from promoters. So that's why it is important that the promoters have extra shares, extra shareholding with him, because if any shares have to be transferred to advisors, they have to go from the promoter pool, and it cannot go from the company pool, because the advisor would not be bringing in any money to the company. So it is very difficult to give the advisor shares from the company. Instead, it has to be a secondary transfer from the promoters. So for that purpose, you should always have a cushion of some 5%, 2%, maximum 5 to 7% stake for the advisor equity, always held with the promoters, so that whenever there is a need for transfer to the advisors, then that transfer can happen from the promoters rather than from the company. Then we have ESOPs, employee stock option plan. So that's again another important instrument for a startup to attract talent, reward their employees, and basically to attract key talent, because they can't offer them the huge salaries that they demand, while they need them for the expertise and experience they bring in, and for the contribution that they can make in the growth of the startup. So that's why they are ESOPs are a beautiful instrument actually, because you are giving them options and not shares. So what is an ESOP is a option given to an employee to subscribe to shares at a future date, at a price which is fixed today. So today you are fixing the number of options and the price at which he can subscribe to those options at a future date. So that future date can be what? Minimum there has to be a gap of 1 year, and after 1 year it can be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, any number of years. There is no hard and fast rule. So industry practice is basically 5 years. So after 5 years he will get those shares. So this is helping you in a way that his commitment is locked for those 5 years, because if he leaves the organization in between, he is not getting any shares. Whatever contribution he has made, he has not got the exact salary for that contribution. He was rewarded in the form of shares, and if he is not fulfilling his commitment, he will not get those shares. So that's why it is very it's a very beautiful instrument for the startup companies, and for the employees also. They feel a sense of ownership, because they are not just the employees, they will be the shareholders of the company on achieving the milestones and on conversion. And when the company grows, they can also realize the value of that growth when they sell those shares, and that gain that money out of the share, even they are benefited. So it also motivates them to contribute better to the growth of the company. So having an ESOP plan is very essential for a startup. When you have started taking employees, and when you have started hiring employees at a higher positions, it is very important that you have a ESOP plan in place. Even when your investors invest the money, before they come in, they always ask the company to allocate reserve certain portion for ESOP. So 5 to 10% is the average pool size. Do not exceed beyond that, but that's the normal share, and you should always have a well designed ESOP policy in place. And just because you have an ESOP plan, don't do grant left, right, and center. Always the discretion is with the board, with the founders. So always have some eligibility checklist, and the employees who fit in those checklists, only them allot or do the grants to them. Yeah. So taking control, protecting your equity is very important. Even when you have a investor fundraise round, at that time also, when the early investors, like after your angel rounds, and when there are early investors, like angel round is done, and then you have venture capitalists or PE investors. At that time, they come with their own terms, and they even your shareholding gets locked, and they put it in under vesting. So quarterly, half yearly, your shareholding will vest based on the timelines that they have. At that time also, it is very, while you need money, while money is very important for the company, while the founders are like riders, so the money is like the petrol that is needed for the vehicle to run. So accordingly, money is very important for you to grow, to achieve those scales that you project. But always ensure that your equity is protected. There's one more point that I wanted to tell on ESOP. Sorry. So many founders are not aware that this is applicable only for a startup. Even promoters are eligible for ESOP. So you can reserve certain number of shares under ESOP for promoters also. This is applicable only for startup companies. For other companies, promoters and founders are not key persons who hold more than 10% shares, are not eligible for ESOP. ESOP is meant only for employees. But if you are a startup, then even you as a promoter are eligible for ESOP. So you can get some more shares from the company via ESOP. So that is one important point which many startup founders are not aware of. So that is one way of protecting your stake when you have investors. When you have proper investors investing in the company, you can negotiate with them to reserve certain portion for you under ESOP, so that tomorrow when you exercise, when you meet those milestones, they usually link it to your performance milestones. So when the company is able to hit those milestones, then even the promoters can get additional shares, yeah, and their shareholding can be intact. Mm. And also, be very careful when giving board seat to an investor. Usually, founders, even for a 5 to 10% stake investor, they offer a board seat, but that's not right. Always negotiate on board seat. Don't be ready to offer board seat unless the investor is putting in more than 20% stake in the company. So board seat, because then if the investor comes on the board, then it is very difficult, because every small decision you need his approval. So have that control and decision making power with you, and so that small actions do not get delayed because of investor consent. When you as the founders are managing the affairs, it can be, the processes can be quick, decisions can be made quick. So unless there's some major item that may affect the business significantly, do not reserve it for investor consent. Yeah. So that was my brief presentation. Now I would like to request you to ask whatever questions you may have on the topic.
Anyone can unmute.
Yeah, I think you'll
Yeah.
now be able to.
Yeah, you can ask any question, anything that you may have.
Shilpa, I have a question. Shelly here. Thank
Yeah.
you for the information. I wanted to understand, when you mentioned, do you have a framework for ESOPs policy for employees? Is there something that we can refer? How do we structure it or stuff like that?
You mean ESOP policy?
Yes, for employees, yeah.
Yeah. So ESOP policy, you want to understand the framework. Okay. So ESOPs are like, actually, to be frank, under ESOP, you have full liberty to decide. Yeah, there's some background noise.
Yeah. Not sure. I think Rajesh, if you could, the guys who
Yeah,
have not talked
Rajesh here. And actually our question is primarily that suppose we do ESOPs to employees, and when the employee leaves the company, how the shares of that employee has to does it automatically come back to the company portal, or we need to do some formalities from the employee who's leaving the company? Can you elaborate or explain? Employee gives the company who has been given ESOP earlier.
Sir, I was not able to hear you properly.
Yeah. So Rajesh, there's
I
some
think one question. Yeah.
there's some disturbance from your side. I would say if you could put that in the chat, that would really be helpful.
So I would just like sharing.
Sir,
Yeah,
the
I-
management. Yeah.
I would request you to please put your questions in the chat box because I can only answer one at a time. So I would first go with Shelly's question. Meanwhile, so Shelly, yes, for employee, there is a framework for ESOPs. How you to deal with ESOPs. If you want me to elaborate under ESOPs, there is a process. First you have to adopt the ESOP policy. You have to design an ESOP policy and then adopt it. And then there are 3 steps under ESOP. First, you have to do the grant of options. Then there is a 1-year lock-in, and then the options will vest over a period of time. Like the company has the liberty to decide how the options are going to vest. It can vest in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. And in fact, you can have different vesting schedules for different employees. There is no hard and fast rule that there should be the same vesting schedule or same exercise price for all the employees. The company can have different vesting schedules, different exercise price for different employees. And then final thing would be the exercise point. So where exercise is the place where he has to pay the exercise price to the company and get the shares, convert the options into shares. Once they are converted, he becomes the shareholder of the company.
Okay. I think Shelly, that was clear. So guys, I have muted everyone for now because a lot of disturbance and confusion happening. So you could raise your hands. I can unmute and you could talk. Yeah. So Shilpa, I think you're not feeling well. I guess just have a sip of water. That would really be helpful. I think we have Raghu and others from the team
Sorry.
to pick up any other questions too.
Yeah. So I have a question in the chat box.
2 questions
How
per
do we decide? Yeah, from Sachin.
Yeah.
How do we decide what's the right percentage of advisor equity vis-a-vis the value they bring in? How do we factor in stage of the startup? For example, 0.25% in seed versus 0.25% Series A, there is a lot of difference in value. Okay. So yes, advisor equity, usually see you will have advisor equity very early on in your growth scale. You will not give advisor equity after you have achieved certain already, started making revenue, started seeing the growth, and you have moved from early stage to growth stage company, or when you are near the Series A round. So that's why it is very important to understand that's what I was saying, that you have to prepare one plan for your next 5 years, that what equity you are looking at in the next 5 years, and accordingly then decide how much equity you have to allot to your advisors. 0.25%, 0.5% is the normal standard. Yeah, of course, when you achieve Series A, that becomes that will create a huge value for them, and probably they will exit in that round, so that your cap table also is cleared, and they have got the value out of whatever contribution they have made. So that's why it is important to have a plan in place, that how do you look at it, and that way you will be able to convince the advisor to take in that stake. He will always negotiate that no, I want 1%, I want 2%, but you have to show him the value of that 0.25% at that level, and 0.25% at the Series A round, where he would probably take an exit. So that explanation and that session with your advisor is very important to align the shareholding that you're offering to him. Okay, so there is another question. Can we convert founders' salary as ESOPs? From Srivasu. So founder's salary and ESOPs are two different things. ESOPs are you are not giving ESOPs for the payment. To be founder's salary is something that has to be, that money has to go from the company. Whereas for ESOPs, the money has to come from the, if considering that we are offering the ESOP to the founder, the money will come from the founder later on, 5 years later. So directly you can't link it, but yeah, today because you are not able to give them salary, you can reserve certain portion of shares for founder as ESOP. That is allowed as long as you are a startup company. You have to be registered with TPIIT to give ESOPs to your promoters. You can't directly frame it like that, but you can say that I'm not offering any salary payment to my founder. In lieu of that, I would like to reserve certain portion as ESOP, but that will be only ESOP then and not salary. Siddhartha has a question. I promised my founding engineer with 10% equity. I have 90%. I said I will vest it for 3 years, but maybe after some scale, we need to get a better CTO and all. But maybe after 3 years, there will be a lot of investor. Is that okay for 10% vesting in 3 years? How this works? So yeah, 90-10 to begin with may sound good, but you have to see how much he is going to contribute, whether his efforts are going to be limited to only your beginning years, and then there would be no contribution from him after a few years. So that is very important for you to analyze, that how his contributions are important throughout the journey of the company, or his contributions are limited only for the company to start making that revenue. Because as you correctly mentioned, once you grow, you may have to hire even people at different levels, key designation, CTO, CEO, and all other things. So to them also, you may have to offer shares in the form of ESOP or direct equity. So that's why it is very, before you lock in 10%, you vesting is good. Vesting is always good to have. But then that percentage also you have to once check on that, if he is going to contribute throughout my journey, then okay, 10% is good. But if his efforts are limited to only few years of my journey, then even 10% is more. And vesting is as you just brought out, vesting is a very good thing to have. So because even for shares, not just ESOP, even for co-founder shares, having vesting schedule will lock their commitment for that number of years, and it will not you may have clawback provisions if he leaves before those years. So vesting is always good to have even between co-founders. So the next question is from Kishore. Can you explain a bit more?
We have Shilpa, just a second before taking the chat. We have like a couple of hands which are raised, so I feel you can take that. So Uday, I see you raise your hand. So can you will be able to unmute yourself? Can you unmute and talk?
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, Uday. Now we are able to hear you.
Yeah. So, Shilpa, my question is, suppose we have given already shares to our employees. So my question is, in case if the employee leaves the company, do we need to do some formalities for taking back the shares? What are the formalities and what happens to the shares? Do they automatically come back to the company quota, or we have to do formalities, or it stays with the employee?
Okay. So that's a very good question that you have asked, that when you have offered shares to the employee, I don't know if you have executed any agreement. It is very important that when you offer shares, you have a shareholders agreement in place where it is clearly mentioned that if any employee or anybody for that matter, when he leaves the organization, he has to, the right of the, I leave it to the board discretion. You can provide the options in the agreement. One could be he has to transfer, shares will not automatically come to you unless you have documented it. So you have to prepare a document where you have to write that when he leaves the company, he has to transfer those shares back to the founder or to anybody affiliate of the founder. at the if he is a good leaver. So here also there are two situations, when he is a good leaver and when he is a bad leaver. So in case he is a good leaver, then it will be up to the board to decide whether whether the board wants those shares to be retained with those employees. If not, then the board can elect, can direct him to transfer those shares to the promoters at a fair value prevailing at that time. And in cases where he is a bad leaver, bad leaver is a situation where he's terminated for not delivering or for negligence for any reason by the company. In that scenarios, the shares have to be transferred back to the company or to the founders at face value or without any consideration, so that he does not gain anything out of the shares that he has. So, those situations, it is very important to have an agreement beforehand, so that when such situation arises, we don't have to, he is bound to transfer those shares back to the company.
So this to be done, the documentation is to be done right at the time when the shares are being given to the employee, irrespective of is a good employee or a bad leaver or a good leaver. Is irrespective of
Definitely,
that, it should be done at
yes,
the beginning when the share are being given, so that in the clause should be there. If you are leaving, the shares are automatically pulled back to the founder's quota or the company's quota.
exactly. So, because he may also join a competitor, and you may not want your shares, to go to somebody who is working for your competitor. So, bottom line in every case is, whenever you are issuing shares to anybody, you should have a shareholders agreement. The
Got it. Got it.
document should be in place in any scenario, whether because today everybody is good, but we don't know about tomorrow, right? So we have to prepare for tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am. Second question is about you mentioned about shares for advisors that should be coming from the promoters quota rather than from the founders quota rather than ESOP quota, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah, because
yeah.
advisors are not your employees, sir. ESOPs are meant only for your full-time employees.
Okay.
That
And
ESOPs do
so when
not
you
be
say
given.
advisors, you're also talking about people like who want to be so-called board of directors. They want to be on the director board. So advisors, board of directors are same category of people, right? Or they are
No,
different?
no. They are different, sir. Advisor is somebody like he may help you in raising funds from
Okay.
some other sources, or he may help you in getting some clients, in getting some business. He may not be on your board seat, he may or may not be, but he's not the same as the one who is on your board,
Okay.
who is helping
Got
you
it.
strategically.
Got it. And board of directors could be just be paid as per the sitting fees. They don't have to be given shares or anything for that, right?
Yeah.
It just
Startups
depends.
usually have only their founders as the directors. I mean, very rarely you will have a third party as a director, unless he is your investor and the
Yeah.
investor has taken a seat.
In our case, actually, we have a few advisors. I'll not say advisors. They are a little like amalgamation between advisor and board of directors. Somewhere amalgamated people who advise us. So we do pay them some fees. We are not giving them any shares, but we are thinking of that giving shares to them as well, so that they can really be a part of our journey. So if we give it, it should be coming from the promoters quota and not from the ESOP quota.
Sir, yeah, because they will not fall under employees. They are only
Got it.
advisors. That they are, even though they are directors, they could be non-executive directors and not your executive directors, not your full-time directors, I mean to say.
Yeah,
So,
got it, got it.
yeah,
Yeah, one last question, madam, from my side. Yeah, go ahead, complete it.
so the safest way to offer shares to the advisors is from promoters quota.
One quick last question, ma'am. Typically, what time? See, we have seen earlier. We have done some 2 rounds of these kind of activities, and we have seen it quite kind of taken fairly good amount of time. So sometimes it takes like good 5-6 months. What is the minimum time it takes? Is 5-6 months a common time to do this government registration of valuation of the company, giving share certificate, or we have taken longer time?
Sir, I do. So, which state or city are you from?
Hyderabad, Telangana, here itself.
Hyderabad, I am surprised, sir. It will not take 5 to 6 months for issuing shares or share certificates. It can be done within a week.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
everything, the register of company, ROC activities, shares, giving shares, all that can be done in a week, 10 days, 15 days time frame.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, valuation report also, everything.
Okay, good. So I would like to get in touch with you eventually after this meeting so that we can be in touch, ma'am.
Yeah, you can get our credentials from TG10X and we would be happy to help you in any way we can.
I am a part of TG10X. I know Hitesh, so so very
I'll
much closely
definitely,
associated with TG10X.
yeah, I'll share the feedback mail, right? In that, I'll definitely include the.
Done. Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you, Shilpa.
Thank you.
Okay, so guys, we'll take all the questions that are in the chat and people are raising the hand. But in case if anything we are not able to take, we can seeing the time constraint and all, if we had to drop, Hansika do drop them a feedback form. Uh, so that's basically related to about the event and what you're looking for the future. Plus, we also added a field for if you have any questions, you can ask in that, and we'll send that to SimplyBiz team, and they will be able to respond to that. Plus, like I said, we'll also share the details of the team so that you can contact them by giving the digital next reference over there. Yeah, yes, Shilpa, let's continue with that. So I don't see any other hands raised. So people who are raising the hands, there are two things. I see people are raising the emojis like Abhi, you're raising the emoji, but when you go to the thing, there's something called as raise hands. You have to do that. Okay, so we can take the chat, Shilpa. So I think we
Okay.
went with
So
Siddharth.
I have next question from Kishore. Can you explain a bit more about the safe note? I'm sorry, I have very bad cold. Please excuse me for that. Question is, can you explain a bit more about the safe notes and how it works in startups generally? Yeah. So safe notes are nothing but instruments. They are a form of actually your compulsorily convertible preference share. So legally speaking, they are not recognized. It is a industry language. It is an industry term nomenclature that is given to the instrument. But the legal form that they take are of compulsorily convertible preference shares, where you issue them today without doing any valuation, and the conversion is linked to a future valuation. So in future, there are different types, valuation cap, discount, and a combination of valuation and discount. In that way, you offer them as a, take money from them, issue them CCPS today. But the conversion and the valuation are linked to future fundraise round. Actually, the next Series A or next fundraise round, at which they will convert into equity shares at a discount. The discount percentage in case of discount safe note is fixed, or in case where it is a valuation based safe note, the valuation cap is fixed. So at that valuation, or if the company is able to achieve a valuation higher than that valuation, then at that valuation cap, the conversion will happen. And in case of a discount, whatever is the next fundraise round, at a discount, 20%, 10%, 15%, whatever is the discount rate that you have fixed, at that discount rate, your conversion will happen. So you are getting benefited, the investor is getting benefited, early on investors are getting benefited that they are able to get the shares at a lesser valuation than the next fundraise round. That is on safe notes. Next question is from Abhi.
So even Abhi is raising his hand, so maybe we could take him. So I just send you a request. You can unmute and you can talk. I think you have the same question. So yeah, please go ahead and talk about it. Should be able to unmute. Okay. Okay. We can read the question. I think he's not able to.
So Abhi's question is, usually we incorporate a company with around 1 lakh of capital where we have 10,000 shares of rupees 10 each, or 1 lakh shares of rupees 1 each. Even if I want to give one share to an employee at a later date, it will be 1% of the company. How to structure this if I want to give only 0.1% of the equity? Because even if I give to 10 employees, it will become 10%. Okay, so Abhi, as I mentioned, you are giving today only options. So while you may commit one option, tomorrow, after 5 years, when he exercises, your share capital might not be same. You might have different fundraising rounds, different investors, where your share capital might have gone from say 1 lakh to maybe 50 lakhs or so. So but the share that he will get is fixed. Even after 5 years, he is going to get only one share. So that one share will be calculated on your future capital and not your current capital. Today, you might, you might feel that he get 1% of the company, but he's not getting shares today. Shares will be offered at a later date, and the percentage of shareholding that he will hold will be calculated based on shareholding on the date he exercises the shares.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, Raghu.
Oh, great. Shilpa, I just wanted to add on this. See, while this is a very common to have, 1 lakh capital, 1 lakh shares are 10,000, nothing stops us to incorporate a company with 10 lakh capital. I generally suggest people to keep, 10 lakhs as an authorized capital. The filing fees is almost same. Then you have a large pool. Then it helps you, even the employees feel, they are getting more in number instead of one share, 100 shares. Hope that was clear. Yeah. Maybe, Shilpa, you can take other questions. Yeah.
So there is one question from Lokesh. What paperwork and regulatory documentation are required to establish ESOPs? So ESOPs can be adopted with very minimum paperwork. You need to just adopt an ESOP policy and do, actually for a private company, you don't even have to do any filings with MCA. You need to have a board resolution, one EGM, ordinary resolution, but no filings are required. And once the EGM adopts the ESOP policy, the ESOP is adopted. After that, there are regular documents that have to be prepared for grant letter and options agreement. Those are required when you do the actual granting to the employee. And then there would be exercise letter that will happen when the employee exercises. So these are the documentations that are required for ESOPs.
Yeah, I think we can take the Sachi's question. So this, I'm not sure if this is part of this question. Like Pandya is asking whether he should be doing a property or private limited.
Okay.
Yeah.
So OPC or private limited company. OPC is basically a one-person company. You cannot have more than one shareholder. Today you might not get any investor, but tomorrow, 5 years, 6 years down the line, 5 months, 6 months down the line, when you have an investor, you have to convert that OPC into a private company because OPC cannot have more than one shareholder. So it is always advisable to have a private limited company as a structure, so that it will be, you don't have to, extra, no time is wasted when you have a ready investor. Today, because you already have an OPC, my idea would be you can convert it into a private limited company. It's not a very difficult procedure. So it's better to convert it rather than incorporating a fresh company. So next question is from Jalakam Bogin. I would like to onboard a senior level software engineer for our company. He has 11 years of experience and has worked with multiple MNCs, including both abroad. He is now interested in working with a startup in a senior role. I have proposed that he join as the tech lead of the company with 4% ESOPs vested over 5 years, including a 1-year claim. I have also clearly mentioned that there will be no salary until the business starts generating revenue. Additionally, I explained that if he is interested in long-term commitment, there is a possibility of being committed to a co-founder role in the future. Is this acceptable to structure the offer in this way? So Rohit, taking a tech lead for the company, giving him ESOPs is okay. 4% is something that we have to analyze basis your business requirement and business plan, and what is the current shareholding, what are the investors that you are looking at, fundraise rounds. But no salary is something that is, I don't know if it is acceptable to the technique. Mostly people who come in senior roles, they take a 50-50 ratio. So 50% of their contribution they take in the form of salary, and balance 50% they take it in the form of ESOP. So that is a proper ratio of 50-50. So that once you can revisit that, like complete 100% in the form of ESOP and no salary template. If he is acceptable, then there is no harm. You can definitely structure it in this way, and even the option of being promoted to a co-founder. So for that also, I would advise to have an agreement and fix the milestones, performance milestones that he has to achieve. The role that he has to deliver, whatever is his commitment for being promoted to a co-founder. So that documentation is very important, so that both of you are aligned and there are no disputes later. I
Madam?
think,
Shilpa, I
yes,
just want to add on that earlier question, which you have explained to Rohit. I mean, say something like this definitely is a doable. I mean, what we need to look at is, what is the value of that CTO who's bringing in, right? Sometimes also you need to consider, you know, his earlier employment, what was the compensation he was getting it, right? If you have to hire somebody, how much is the compensation, right? And given if you are doing a seed round of funding, what is the company value? Based on that, these things becomes, easy to quantify. But something like what you are saying, 4% vesting over 5 years is completely, acceptable also. And I mean, this is a natural progression, from a ESOP to co-founder, somebody who has put in 3-4 years of effort, definitely is a good sign. And even the investors want it, right? So there are people who are skin in the game, they have, contributed 3-4 years effort, and then they are moving to the CTO is completely, good situation.
Yeah. I think, Shilpa, have you covered the question from Sachi? Like, we are currently an office about 4 years old. Is this done?
Shilpa covered
yeah,
that.
from OPC, OPC to private company, I have covered.
Maybe I missed it. Yeah,
I
we have
think
one more question. Yeah, you can take this last question and then we'll be up on the time.
yeah.
Maybe we can close.
So the last question is from John. He says, Ramesh is a 13 years experienced person, and can you just tell me this is a fair deal to disperse 7.5% equity, 0.5% now as an advisor, but potential CTO role, 7% when he comes on full time when I fulfill his salary expectations. He's been with me for 5 months now, designing, shaping, and building the product. Ours is a SaaS startup. I think this is completely related to what we just answered, me and Raghu sir. So, drawing from the same lines, 13 years experienced person who's already working with you for 5 months now, and you want to give 0.5% equity now as an advisor, but potential CTO, and when he comes, once he comes on a full-time basis, 7%. So 7%, yeah. So that it 0.5% now is fine. 7% when he joins the full-time role. My suggestion would be don't give 7% on the day he joins. It can be structured, over a period of time. Vesting can happen over a period of time, so that his commitment is locked in the business. So that would be my suggestion. Yeah, so 4 year vesting, 1 year cliff is okay. Yeah, so that is okay. For what you has worked till now, you can give 0.5% and balance 7% with a 4 year vesting period. That is a doable. I think we have covered all the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time is also up. I think we can conclude the session. If there are any questions
Yeah.
on
Guys, if there are any questions, the Google form that is shared, in that there's a field where you can put up your questions and we'll forward that to the SimplyBiz team. So once we get the answer, we have your email ID, so we can forward that to you. And also, like I said, I'll be sharing the contact details from the SimplyBiz team, so that you can directly reach out to them by digital next reference, and that would help a lot, like in case of any questions you have, or any you want to get it done for your companies or anything like that. Okay. uh we have last question from Rohit. If you can put that in the chat, because I'm not sure if you'll be able to unmute, that would be better. But guys who are there are like 30 members here currently. Thanks for joining and thanks for being part of it. And we'll definitely, and I see the lot of enthusiasm and a lot of questions people have regarding equity, which I know is very difficult. The must have thing for each and every founder, the must think topic, and a lot of questions people have. So what we can do is we can do this kind of a session every month, where we'll try to bring it a more of a master class plus a break on sessions where people could get answers for these queries and all. We'll try to come up with some structure with that. I'll work with the team and we'll try to come up with something. Yeah. Yeah, Rohit, I tried unmuting you. I'm not sure if you got the request. If not, then you can put in the chat. Shilpa is there, so she could take your question. Uh, but it was really great, Shilpa, having you answering all the questions, taking it up. Though you're not well, it's clear evident for you. But that's a really great thing, and thanks Digitonics as well to take up it. And like I said, definitely we'll be kind of doing more sessions with you guys, because a lot of uh, questions people has, they wanted to understand more about the equity. So we tried to come up with a good structure where we could see how we could help the
I would like to thank you. It was very nice experience chatting with the founder.